this thing on. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies,
distinguished guests of ladies and gentlemen,
may the peace and mercy of Allah be upon you all, and welcome to this beautiful, promising day, promised by your attendants. To be very honest, we were a little bit anxious and afraid, but as soon as we heard those applauses, we feel a lot more better. Please welcome, this is my lovely co-host, Raya.
and my co-host Yusuf. Good morning.
Good morning to you too, Raya.
Ladies and gentlemen, while some of you have been on the RewirEd website or read the event agenda, we still feel the need to relay in spoken words what this summit is all about.
That's very right, Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start this introduction with a question. How many times have we heard about someone who made plans for an upcoming day as small as starting out our day with our alarms and going to work, for example?
Or as big as going on vacation or planning a wedding or attending one.
Now, it is the sad nature of man, ladies and gentlemen, to take things in life for granted. We take our positions, we take our friends, we take our family, our life partners, and even ourselves, not realizing all of that could go away.
Well, human civilization is not that young, but we had our advancements and setbacks, and like all living things, we strive to survive.
However, the one element that ensures the continuation of civilization is education, ladies and gentlemen. Now, truth is, COVID hit the pause button for education globally, and even now, there are individuals and even countries that are behind.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the founding father to this nation left us, he passed on more than riches and a union.
What he passed on, our founding father, Sheikh Zayed, is that a belief that youth and people are the greatest asset to a nation and to the planet at the same time.
And the truth is that the world needs more books than bandages and medkits.
Which is why, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today at the RewirEd Summit, called on by Dubai Cares, in partnership with Expo 2020 Dubai and in cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation to rewire the education sector globally.
Over the next 3 days, starting today, we will be tackling the subjects of youth and their skills, innovation in learning, and the financing of education.
Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, everyone will have a say in these pressing matters, and our summit will even involve the youth to present their views, so we can form an educational map that fits all of humanity.
Welcome to the RewirEd Summit.
Welcome, everyone.
There are few more fundamental responsibilities than ensuring that each new generation is blessed with the lessons of the past and the greatest possible opportunities of the future. How can we better use what we know to change how we learn? We are fortunate that the transformation of education was underway even before the pandemic struck, but we're not moving fast enough. Now, education reform and innovation is more than a necessity, it is actually a priority. Whether in Dubai or Dar es Salaam, Helsinki or Hyderabad, all children and youth should be guaranteed inclusive and equitable quality education. And the value of this basic right will ripple out through communities, across continents, and down generations.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to call on our first speaker to deliver her opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome Her Excellency Reem Hashimi, Minister of State for International Cooperation of the United Arab Emirates and Managing Director for Expo 2020 Dubai.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural RewirEd Global Education Summit here at Expo 2020 Dubai. The principle of quality education for all is one that resonates ceaselessly with the values and vision of the United Arab Emirates, its leadership and its people. A non-negotiable tenet that can be traced back to the foundation of this very nation, and one that has only grown more central in the half-century since. On the occasion of our Golden Jubilee, and on our hosting of a World Exposition for 192 nations, it therefore feels appropriate that we offer this groundbreaking global platform for the rewiring of education. An opportunity to rekindle creativity and exchange fresh and valuable perspectives, to engage critical stakeholders from every level of society, and to galvanize action that will reshape the way we harness and challenge our knowledge today in order to best prepare for tomorrow. With the invaluable leadership and support of our founding partners, Dubai Cares and the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and our strategic partners from all around the world, we will spend the next 3 days planning for the next 3 decades and beyond. We will examine youth, skills, and the future of work, from higher education to entrepreneurship, technical and vocational training, rural livelihoods, and green jobs. We will challenge innovation in education to accelerate learning, overcome barriers to access and progress, and provide skills for life in an era of rolling emergencies. And we will ask questions of education financing, which can and must do more to unlock the potential of women and girls, to drive digital connectivity and inclusion, and to mainstream investment in the one thing we cannot afford to neglect, and that is our future. We will do so at a juncture in history at which we know that our traditional systems of education must evolve urgently if they are to withstand the rigors and meet the potential of the 21st century. Today marks the beginning of the Knowledge and Learning Week here at Expo, during which 115 nations will showcase content and programming exploring how together we might navigate a path to the more successful creation, preservation, and transfer of knowledge, from intangible and tangible heritage to the flourishing of the creative industries to the building of the knowledge economies that will illuminate the landscape of tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, despite everything that has overshadowed these last 2 years and the hardships that are still endured worldwide as a result of myriad challenges, medical, social, and economic, education is still a central priority of every government, every community, and every family on earth. This tells us something. It inspires us to action, and it impels us to deliver concrete outcomes, a legacy manifested in commitments and key findings that will inform the next round of reflection and revision, and the next after that. Use the next 3 days to build and deliver upon that legacy, Imagine the possibilities. If we take all that we have learned and put it in the service of the wonders we have yet to discover, we would truly be successful. Thank you all very much for your time and attention, and for being with us here this morning.
Our thanks to Her Excellency for her remarks. And now to our next keynote, please welcome His Excellency Hussain bin Ibrahim al-Hammadi, Minister of Education of the United Arab Emirates.
Peace be upon you all. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you.
من هنا من إكسبو دبي 2020 هذا الحدث العالمي البارز الذي تحتضنه دولة
Peace be upon you all. Welcome all to this major event in Dubai, Expo 2020 Dubai, where all the world comes together and supporting the vision of our leadership and the government of the UAE in order to be a positive contribution in order to have a great developmental movement towards the future that meets all the demands of the future, as well as enhancing the sustainability of resources for the benefit of mankind. We have Dubai Cares Summit, RewirEd, in participation with Expo 2020 Dubai, and in close collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. It follows a very clear methodology and approach that coincides with the week of learning and teaching, knowledge and teaching, hoping to create a radical change in the path of learning and education, youth, their skills, and the future of work. Innovation in education. These are the major directions that we should head on. And it has a lot to do with leadership, quality, innovation. And these all work hand in hand in this summit. This will provide us with the best scenarios provided, because the role of education and its status in the UAE is a great one, and it's something that is non-negotiable. It is a reality that has been before our eyes since the establishment of our beloved country with the directives of the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. He always focused on this goal and looking forward to what is new in the outcomes of education in order to achieve the vision of the country and implement all its criteria on the ground. The Ministry of Education has attempted a quantum leap in education with the lifelong learning approach. This has cultivated all this ecosystem in education with 4 pillars, with specialized academies for general education, following certain positive structures in higher education, to create developmental packages that encompass of all the fields of education, such as the teaching methodologies, university and research, among others. This will provide a quality education that is comprehensive and would meet all the requirements of different age groups of learners and students. This will enable us to prepare a generation that is equipped with talent and skills in different fields. The youth in UAE are the future of the country. And in this context, the country has launched different initiatives that focuses on youth and their preparation and training them, as well as rehabilitation. The Ministry of Education has also followed in this path and created new developed paths of education for vocation and other specialized academies, focusing on early childhood as well as long life learning. New topics and disciplines have also emerged, such as health education, creativity, programming, and future skills. This is based on our belief that the youth require certain knowledge and personal skills that would be needed for the future. Also, the ecosystem of higher education focused on advanced skills in order to work in fields like vocations and entrepreneurship, among others. According to this comprehensive view and vision, innovation is part and parcel and a priority in the direction that is taken by the UAE. And this is why the Ministry of Education is working actively to implement a special strategy that would focus on curricula that enhances the skill of students in technology, innovation, creativity, and new technology, and micro technologies and nanotechnologies, as well as robotics. These will also be linked to other scientific and academic fields that should be taught to these students, and also scientific research implementations, such as the Agricultural Sciences Academy and Creative Sciences, as well as implementation and applied academies. All these fields are provided by the UAE and is available for collaboration between different countries in the world. We welcome other students from all around the world. We want to cultivate a shared vision to enhance communication and to reimagine the educational scene. Also, to be prepared for what comes after the pandemic. This will be also enhanced and enabled by the partnership between the private and public sectors. In addition to this, we have to provide the youth with all they need of skills and invest the best way possible in the technology of education, which has proven to be highly adequate and useful during the pandemic. This puts us all on the path of achieving equality in acquiring education. This means that education will be offered to all with a reasonable cost, and thus we will achieve prosperity and a sustainable future for all. I am sure that working together will allow us to reimagine and create a new future for learning. I hope all the success for this summit. Hopefully the outcomes will be positive and very close to be achieved. Thank you. Peace be upon you all.
Our thanks to His Excellency for this keynote. Ladies and gentlemen, our upcoming keynote will be relayed to us by His Excellency David Singh, Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary Education and Chief Innovation Officer for the Directorate of Science, Technology and Innovation in Sierra Leone and Chair of the Global Education Monitoring Report.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to join you today for the opening plenary of the RewirEd Summit, an opportunity for the global education community to come together to jumpstart some of the positive change we want to see in education. The summit is described as a meeting place of likely and unlikely allies, and a place to debate critical issues facing leaders from education policy and practice today. Thank you to UAE for being generous hosts. I can think of no single important issue and more topical and timely as the role of non-state actors in education. Today, there is no part in education in which non-state actors are not involved. Without non-state actors, the education of a further 350 million children will fall under the responsibility of the state. Their role extends beyond provision of schooling. It affects the textbooks children use, the food in their canteens, the additional support they get at home, the skills they learn after they leave school, and much more. Many of you in this room have strong opinions about this subject. We now have a global report on the issue to inform our thinking. The 2021-2022 Global Education Monitoring Report's rallying call, "Who chooses? Who loses?" invites policymakers to question relationships with non-state actors in terms of fundamental choices and their trade-offs between equity and freedom of choice, two pillars of the right to education, between encouraging initiative and setting standards, between groups of varying means and needs, between immediate commitments under SDG 4 and those to be progressively realized, and between education and other social sectors. It calls for governments to see all institutions, students, and teachers as part of a single system, to use common quality standards, common monitoring and support processes for all providers. This will signal the care for all children's education, irrespective of the school type they attend. An education minister myself, with over 60% of schools run by faith-based organizations and 15% owned by private institutions, I can speak from experience when I say that governance systems can be complex when multiple actors are involved. This makes oversight that much more important to protect those who have the most to lose. We're aware that our public education systems have their weaknesses, and we need to confront those. But the report warns that inequality and exclusion can also result if private education is not effectively regulated. Many countries lack either adequate regulations or the capacity to enforce them. The report brings a lot of new data on the struggles many households go through to pay for private and public education. Households in the poorest countries are covering up to 39% of the total cost of education, costs which non-state involvement is exacerbating. This has led to 8% of families having to borrow to send their children to school. This is a critical warning we must all take seriously. The report's peer website will help inform our policy dialogue on this issue. It tracks and compares non-state provision regulations in 211 countries around the world. Analyzing these show that few focus on equity. 55% of countries have regulations that prevent selective admission procedures in non-state schools. 27% prohibits profit-making in primary and secondary education, which countries committed to provide free in 2015. Only 7% of countries have quotas that enhance access to schools for disadvantaged students through initiatives. Around half have regulations on private supplementary tuition. Just as my objective now as Chief Innovation Officer is to facilitate and support a vibrant national innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem for public and private actors of Sierra Leone, this report sets out to ensure that all actors build an effective education system for the benefit of all. In this sense, this report reads my mind when it calls on governments to create spaces to foster initiative and to set the conditions for a variety of actors to interact, coordinate, and cooperate. There is so much to be gained from maximizing on all parties' expertise. But the tried and tested innovations should then be shared by all in the system, not only enjoyed by the few. Some people say that non-state actors should not play a role in education. This report shows that, in fact, they already do today and will continue to do so tomorrow. Education is about the future, and it is our responsibilities to #write the rules. I encourage you to read the 2021-2022 GEM report recommendations and the vision it has for change. Join me this afternoon for a vibrant online discussion hosted by the GEM report team, where its director, Manos Antoninis, will join state and non-state representatives to debate the findings. Thank you very much.